This digital art perspective hack is particularly useful for the way that my brain works, so I hope it helps other people. First, you need to draw the basic room layout from above. Remember, it doesn't need to be perfect, as you can change things later. You can put more or fewer details in, and you can make sure everything is more perfect in the rough layout or fix it a bit later. These specific instructions work for Procreate. You make sure to import the above view either from a photograph or previously done, or do this in the original file you created the art. Then, you can select under Transformation, Distort. Switch things to the canvas. Then you can use the drawing guide. Tap on Perspective. You can add the vanishing points to create a perspective. In this example, I'm using 2-point perspective, which is more a perspective that's useful for this kind of technique. You can also change the color of the perspective grid, the thickness of the lines, and make sure to click Assisted Drawing On. Now you can see the different grid lines in place. By using the Transform Distort, you can warp your image along the three-dimensional plane. Pull on the circles that you see in the corners to adjust it. Try to match it up with the lines in the perspective grid so that it's actually in a new perspective. This allows you to warp the perspective of your original drawing so that it's available to change into a three-dimensional form. This is a good time to make a new layer. Once you've made a new layer, ensure that Drawing Assistance is turned on whenever you want to draw lines that follow the perspective grid exactly, freely turning the Drawing Assistance off on that layer whenever you wish to draw lines that are not perfectly in perspective. As shown previously, you can also lower the opacity of the previous layer so that it doesn't distract from your new lines. Follow the lines and draw upwards and along the axis, turning the flat image that has been warped into the correct perspective into a three-dimensional form. Work through the shapes and use your eraser tool to erase the forms and three-dimensional shapes that wouldn't be seen because something else is in the way. Don't be afraid to draw through the forms so you can see the full shape and then adjust things. Remember that you can erase and draw freely. I advise drawing a very good line art guide first and adjusting your plans as soon as you notice there's a problem. Going back to this smaller view, you can see that my original plan included a dragon shape in the corner. It was meant to represent a very large bookshelf. However, when I went to warp it, I realized it would work as a solid cube, and that doesn't make any sense. So eventually, when doing the full plan, I had to change that section. I had to change it so that it made more sense. It's okay to admit your mistakes in your initial rough plan and actually change things as you go. Another thing you can do is simply not put in all the details in your original rough plan and add some of them when you're doing the 3D up. Often, it's more useful to put more details in the original drawing, but you can also change things as you go. And you can never put every detail in quite as clearly when you're doing a direct above view as you can when you do a proper 3D up. This is more of an isomeric perspective. There are drawing guides for different perspectives in Procreate and other digital art programs which really help you. This is just one method that I find really helps. I find it much easier to draw a map or a guideline from above and then do this perspective warp 3D up than I find to try to do the three-dimensional room without this guide. Sometimes I use isomeric perspective or the perspective grids without warping, but I still do a drawing of the room from above. Since I discovered the perspective warp, I've been using perspective warp very often because I find it works extremely well for the way that my brain works. Remember to work with the way your own brain works and admit your own limitations. Sometimes it's perfectly respectable to find a method that works the best for you. It's not cheating, although it's fun to call it a hack. It's just a technique, a tip, a way of doing things. Don't feel bad for finding a way that makes things easier. The final result of the art is what really matters. So I hope everyone takes this tip and uses it to their own advantage. Remember that various tips you find can help you, but don't expect every tip you find everywhere to work for you. You should try it out though. Some things will be more helpful than other things. And remember to keep experimenting. Check different menus and options in the digital art programs and in traditional mediums you're trying. Experiment and take notes. You might discover something amazing. If you find something really helpful, consider telling others about it. You might be able to help other people out too. As I continue this process, I make sure to work on different layers. You can't use too many layers in Procreate, but you should still try to use them to your advantage. I'm also using selection tools to select an area and then filling in the color by dragging the color over to fill it in. Once again, that's all for this video. If you like my videos, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell to all notifications so you will know when a new video comes up. I aim for new videos every Wednesday, but sometimes life happens and things are delayed. I hope that you enjoyed this video and will see you with another one very soon.